Jade. So today I'm here with a tutorial on how to cut and layer your hair. So my hair was feeling really dead and I just needed to give it some TLC and cut a fair bit off it. Obviously my hair's up at the moment. I need to wash it at the moment, but you guys can see how it looks up in a ponytail. It has some gorgeous layers and it's got lots more movement and texture back in it, which I absolutely love. So basically the technique I'm going to show you is very simple. It's one of the first techniques I was taught when I was hairdressing, so it's very easy to follow, and hopefully the way I explain it is going to be easy for you guys to understand as well. So what you will need obviously is some hairdressing scissors. I don't recommend using big chunky kitchen scissors because it's not going to give you the best result. If you can get your hands on some hairdressing scissors, even just, you know, cheap versions of hairdressing scissors will still be better than kitchen scissors. I have done this video in the past, but I thought it was time to refresh it and just, you know, touch on it again and hopefully explain things a little bit better. This technique is so simple. What you're going to start doing is taking one section at the crown of your head, bringing it all the way up to the top and cutting it straight across. You guys probably can't even see that. And basically you start bringing all the sections up to the top and you cut it straight across at the top. So you're probably wondering, like, how is that going to layer my hair? I don't understand. So I've drawn a little diagram. This is a face. It's an awesome face. I'm such a good drawer, aren't I? So basically what you want to do is start bringing these top sections up as straight as possible, and then you cut them off at that point. So wherever you cut them off at will be where you want your layers. So just say you want some, you know, your layers to start from here, then you bring that section up, and that is how long your layers are going to be. So you kind of want to measure them out a little bit, or if you're a bit unsure, start longer and you can always go back and cut them shorter. Because your hair grows all the way down to the nape of your neck, when you bring up this hair all the way up to the top, you see it's got so much longer to go to reach to that cut off point. So that way it's going to layer your hair. So when you actually have your hair out on an angle, you'll see the hair at the nape of the neck has so much further to go. So when it's all the way out, the hair is going to be longer at the base, and then you'll have some shorter layers depending on where you started your layers, if that makes sense. When you bring all your hair up to the top, by the time you get to this hair down at your nape, it's not actually going to reach those top layers. So you see, here's the length of my nape hair here, and then my top layers is all the way up here. So if I was to cut this the same as my overall length at the base, I'd end up with these really short kind of mullety layers. So you just want to make sure that you've planned out where you want your layers to start first. If your hair is extremely long and you're going for kind of shorter layers, obviously that long length is going to reach all the way to the short length of your layers. If you cut that off, you're going to end up cutting the length of your hair shorter. So what I suggest is when you're layering, mainly stick to, you know, the crown section, especially if your hair is really long, and then you can just blend those layers in together at the end. So just kind of tailor make it to suit your hair, what you want out of it, and yeah. So a few ways you can cut the lengths of your hair. I cut them blunt, so straight across. So that's where you have your section and literally you cut a straight line straight across. So that is great if you have quite thin hair and you want to keep it feeling a bit fuller, a bit thicker, but you still want to have those layers, obviously. But if you've got quite thick hair and you want a more textured, kind of choppier look, you can use a notching technique, which is basically where you have your scissors, instead of cutting straight across, you chop into it on a downward motion, and it basically gives it a zigzag kind of effect. The zigzag's not going to be perfect, obviously, but that's what you want. You don't want it to be perfect because it's going to give you that gorgeous kind of choppy feel to your hair. So that being said, we'll get straight into the tutorial. So I have just freshly washed my hair. Firstly, you need to find, you know, normally where you part your hair. Mine's normally in the center. So I'm just going to divide my hair in half at the back. And I'm going to work with one section at a time. So we'll start with this side. So how we're going to cut these layers, obviously we can't cut it at the back of our head. That's why we split it in half at the back and we're going to bring that hair forwards. So you see how the ends here are getting quite kind of frayed. So I'm thinking probably taking about that much off. So now take another section, quite a small section, because you still want to be able to see the kind of guideline that we've cut. So that is that side done. So now it's time to do the other side. What you can do is grab a section from this side, drag it over to that side, and that can be your kind of guideline to make sure that you're going to get it even. Okay, so once you've trimmed both sides, what you want to do is check that it's even. So comb the hair down either side. You can grab both sides and bring it to the center. And then you can see if there's any areas that are a little bit uneven. Try and keep your head as kind of straight as you can when you do this, like don't lean to one side. But yeah, if you're happy with that kind of length, then we can move on to the layers. For the layers, I'm going to start by sectioning the front sections out of the way. Starting at the crown by taking a horizontal section, combing it completely up, and then see what you want to trim off. You see how all those ends are quite kind of dead. I'm going to trim all that off. So what you want to do is you comb it all the way up, pin your finger in there, and then you can drop your hand down and trim it. So it's going to be a lot easier than trying to trim it when it's like held up here. Okay, so that's going to be our first guideline for the rest of our layers. Now what you want to do is take another section, comb it all the way up, find your previous guideline, and then trim it. And continue this all the way through the hair. When you start getting towards the back of your hair, what I'm doing is taking a vertical section, just a thin vertical section, and then dragging that completely up to the top, and that way you can just see if there's any other little pieces that you may have missed. Obviously, when you start getting towards the back, depending on how long your hair is, you may run out of hair to pull up, because obviously the hair's shorter and it can't reach all the way up to the layers. Okay, so when you get to the front sections, you can either go the horizontal parting or you can continue on the vertical parts. I'm going to go with the vertical just because it's so much easier to work with. You see that guideline that I've already created, so just trim off any bits that aren't part of that guideline. When you get to the front kind of layers, just take one horizontal section and just cross check how that's sitting. So now that kind of basic outline is done, and yes, that's only the outline. I'm going to dry my hair and give it a good straighten. I personally like to finish off my hair when it's straight, just because I can see how it's going to sit when I wear it, and it gives me more of a realistic idea of the texture and the movement that it's going to have. Even if you have curly hair, naturally I still like to do it straight. It is completely up to you. You can do it when it's curly. It's, yeah, just your choice. Just depends on how you like to do it and what you feel will be easier. Personally, straight hair will be easier to do it. So now I'm just putting a little bit of my New Me White Truffle Leave-In Conditioner into my hair. Then I'm going to give it a good blow dry and a straighten. And I might maybe put some makeup on. See you guys in a minute. Okay, so I have just straightened my hair. It's pretty much as smooth as I could get it or be bothered getting it. So what I'm going to do now is trim these layers around my face. So you guys know that I shaved this side of my head a while back, so it is at this kind of weird length and my layers don't really sit that well on this side, so that is okay. We'll just do the best we can. So basically I've got this long bit here. I want to try and just even it up a little bit more. So what I'm doing is just grabbing this section, and what I'm going to do with my scissors is use a little bit of a rocking motion and just kind of guide it down on an angle and just trim those layers as I go. This side always is going to sit a bit funny just because of that shaved side, but hey, it's better than what it was. So on this side, the layers are quite kind of chunky, so I want to just soften them out a little bit more. Okay, so now my hair gets so thick and so chunky, I'm going to go in with my texturizing scissors and pretty much just take up those ends of my hair, go in with the scissors on a bit of an angle, just mainly on the ends and a little bit in the mid-lengths, and just soften that out, and that's going to help the layers blend more. It's going to give it some more texture and just generally make it feel a lot better. Alrighty, it's feeling so much better. The final finishing touch that I like to do is just take a circle section on my crown, because this is where quite a bit of the layers get really thick and just chunky, and I just like to give it a little bit more texture and just make it not as uniform by chipping into it. So I've grabbed this crown section, I like to twist it, and you see how that's all pretty much the same. What I do is I grab my scissors and using like a downward chopping motion, I basically just chop into that, and then get my texturizing scissors and just go to town on that as well. And that honestly makes so much difference to your hair. So I'm just going to brush it, get rid of any excess kind of little ends, stray bits of hair. Have a feel if there's any kind of chunky bits still. It's a little bit here. Just going to go back in and just texturize that a little bit more. You have the finished look. Feels so much better. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. I hope you liked this video. I hope you found it helpful. If you did, I'd really appreciate your support by subscribing. It would honestly mean the world to me. Alright, love you all, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!